Welcome to the Tuning In podcast, where we talk alignment, intuition, and our internal guidance system. We cover woo-woo topics in an approachable and practical way. I'm your host, Dana Evans of Alignful.com. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Tuning In podcast, episode 90. Welcome, everybody. I skipped last week because I couldn't get around to it. So if you listened to episode 89, it was all about spaciousness. And I shared while you were listening to that episode, I would be in Lake Tahoe with my family on a little vacation. And I love life. Constantly dealing out lessons, humbling you, all the good things. So I went on that trip and I was gone, I think, for about 10 days. So I spent the first 4 days I went and visited my brother and stayed with him and his girlfriend at their place. And I did do some work. And then we picked up my parents and John and my parents and I checked into a little Airbnb near my brother's house, and the four of us stayed there. So it's just so funny because I didn't record an episode last week because I was so tired and couldn't really find the energy. I kind of knew what I wanted to talk about, which you're going to hear about today, but I just didn't have the energy to do it. And as you know, probably, I've been on a pretty deep journey of self-exploration, going inward, listening to my inner voice, tuning in and living from my human design 2-4 emotional projector-ness. And it's been such a cool journey. And so I recorded last week's episode and just loved, or 2 weeks ago, and just was relishing in this idea of spaciousness and all of the space that I had created in my life and how I was kind of living with that. I asked you guys some great questions. It's a really good episode. If you haven't listened, check that out. I got some great feedback from other people too from that episode. So spaciousness, it asked some great questions that you can kind of reflect on in your own life, and also shares, this journey of how I've gotten to this place in my life where I actually do have spaciousness. Like, I'm not so busy. I'm not constantly engaged. I'm not constantly being pushed or chased by a to-do list. I'm not overscheduled and overburdened with obligations. And it's really cool. And then I went on this trip. And, this may or may not be part of it. I don't know. But my brother's definitely a generator. I suspect Daniela is too, his girlfriend, though I don't know for sure. We don't have her birth time. But they also live in like a beautiful adventure place. My whole family was there. And I don't think my brother had seen my parents since he moved to Lake Tahoe, because it was during COVID. I've visited 2 times previously, just within the last year, but he had not seen my parents. And so they wanted to do all the things. And I wanted to do all the things. John was going to do some of the things. He was also working. He was closing out 1 chapter of his current job, and he's starting a new job this week. So he was partially doing all the things. But what I found on this trip was just beautiful irony, because I had this whole episode about spaciousness. But what I discovered on this trip was, oh my God, I have no space. And I got to witness my full system reaction to not having space. And it was truthfully a little jarring, because I do spend a lot of time alone. John in my house is pretty chill. He and I, we like going on hikes. We like doing adventures, but our weekends, truthfully, when we're home, are pretty chill. Weekends it's not a time for me to be doing. I don't even like to do phone calls. Even my mom, usually we don't even talk on the weekend. She knows not to call me, and I don't call her, because it's my time to totally come back to self. And that's like on top of the fact that my weeks aren't that busy. Like, yes, I'm serving clients. Okay. That I pour my energy into clients and, we might be talking on Voxer. We have 90-minute sessions during the week. So there's a lot of energy output, but not a lot of like go, 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 do energy in my days. And yet on the weekends, I still need to recover by myself. Okay. So I step into this trip, and first of all, I would like to say it was so much fun. I mean, we went to the beach, and this is Lake Tahoe. It's so gorgeous. We went to the beach in Lake Tahoe. We swam. We rented a boat, and we did like an 8-hour boating day. We had paddle boards. We cooked. Ian has a cool little uni pizza oven. We had a pizza night at his house. Like, we were out and about in the town. We went on a hike. We played with Ian's mountain bikes. Like, there were so many things. And it was all so much fun. And it was really hard for me. I was struggling, guys. This is like, real honesty. I mean, you probably saw some of my stuff on Instagram at Dan_Evans. Daniela and I definitely were posting some great recaps, and that was all real and true. And I was really tired. Also, I have a vlog, the vitamin D vlog, which has been super inconsistent, but we are putting together an episode all about Lake Tahoe, which I got some killer footage with my GoPro. So go to youtube.com/alignful, ALIGNFUL, and you'll see when that vlog is up, you'll get a notification if you subscribe. But I'm really excited for that one. So we did all those fun things. It was fun and I was exhausted. That's the moral of the story. But I also got to witness how I dealt with that. And what happened was I just started to feel like everyone needed from me. So it wasn't just being with my family. So I wanted to be with my family and in person, but I also wanted to capture things for Instagram. I was also still in support of John. So he was there for fun, but he was also under quite a bit of stress because he was this was his second to last week at his old job. And so he was having to make phone calls, telling people that he was leaving. It was a lot. So I was definitely in energetic support of him still. And then of course, my brother and Danielle and I, we all wanted to hang out. And so they wanted me to do all the things and let's get up and have coffee with the sunrise, which sounds wonderful. But I was I'm too tired. I don't want to get up and rush out the door. And we're let's make cocktails. Let's do this. So it was those things. And then my parents were there. So we wanted to get my parents' experiences. And then I had just one commitment in terms of showing up. I did an Instagram live. And so I was okay, I had to be there. And the Wi-Fi was really weak at our place. So it was kind of hard to do those things that required internet. And the service was really low, which is fine. And then I had my magical morning partner, Candace, who we send a message to each other every day. And she was in a launch and I was not able to be present. So it was all of a sudden, what was a nice family trip felt I felt a lot of pressure on myself, pressure to perform. And this is very common for me. So I'll reflect on this to you, is that if I start to feel too many people need me, or any people need me too much, that they're putting big expectations on me. And this, by the way, is all happening in my head. I don't know what the other people are experiencing, right? But if I start to feel pulled in too many directions, that's probably the best way to say it, it really stresses me out. Because it's not because the people need me. It's because I feel the pressure to then meet all of those people's expectations. You see, so it's all an internal experience. So here I am thinking, oh my God, Candace needs me. I need to be there for her. I need to do the magic mornings. My family needs me. I need to be present. We haven't all had a family trip since last June or last July. I need to be here in the real world. And I was John needs me. This is an important transition. I need to be there for him. And I'm thinking, Instagram needs me. Obviously it doesn't, but I'm I need to be there. My clients, I didn't fully turn off that week, like for Voxer support. So it's like my clients need me, like I want to show up for them. So all of a sudden I'm sitting here in the center of like a web and I'm feeling like everyone's pulling on me. And it's none of their faults. It's me having not either communicated the expectations or really realized what was going to be going on. Because what I found was I had very little alone time. So a big part of my world, this is so interesting. Like you have to be in an extreme of an opposite experience to really reflect on how your current experience is. But a big part of my world is voice memos. So I voice memo people all the time. And I think I've talked about this before, but I really love communicating this way. I love communicating with voice memos. And I use Voxer with clients and even with some friends. So I use Voxer, which is a voice memo app. And then I send voice memos like to Candace. We use the voice memo app on our phone. And then for like general communication, I'm often sending voice memos to people, okay? But what is required in order to send a voice memo? Well, you need time to listen, right? And then you need time to speak and record back. And I didn't have either. And so all of a sudden what I felt and what I realized was, oh my God, all of these things are mounting. I have all these voice memos to listen to, right? It's different if you have a text or an email, you can read it and then type a response. But like the voice memo, I needed like an audio and like quiet time to listen and then to be able to respond. So all of a sudden I had like mounting voice memos. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know what am I going to do? But like from the time I woke up in the morning to almost the time I went to bed, I was around people, right? We were staying in a house with my parents. Now they're super chill. My dad's a projector. My mom is also a manifester. John is a manifester. I'm a projector. So it's actually kind of funny because the four of us are non-sacral beings. But so like the mornings were pretty chill with them, but it's just energetically a different experience for me to not have a space where no one's around. And it has nothing to do with my family. It's just this realization that I'm so used to having a ton of spaciousness during the day to listen to voice memos, to think about it, to respond, right? Because when you're listening, it's like an auditory sense. It's a little different to like take in the information, process it, and then do a voice response than like reading it. So it was all really getting to me. And I was having some serious internal struggles. So I was really busy. We are doing all sorts of activities. So like physically tired, right? Like big hikes, being out in the sun, right? Having more drinks than normal. And then energetically, like being around so many people all the time and not having any space really to like go away and hide. And then it was so hot there, which is really, I struggle with heat, and our place didn't have airco. So it was also like hot. And so that's really draining as well. And then I was mentally tired because I was like talking and communicating with people all day long. And so I didn't have what I have here, which is I have a lot of space to just reflect and be and not do and not engage. So this whole experience was so amazing. Now, then all of a sudden I realized what was going on. And so one day, I think it was like midway through the week. Okay, so every day I woke up and I was so tired when I woke up. You know that feeling like I slept a full night and I woke up feeling exhausted, like, oh, I'm not ready for the day. But I woke up and my parents I think they were already gone, and they had gone to meet my brother at the lake for sunrise, which is so beautiful. Like I didn't have that experience that week. And it was fine, but it was a really amazing experience. You bring your coffee, you go to the private beach, and you get to watch the sun rise over the lake. It's amazing. So they were there. And then John was still sleeping. And I was like, oh, I have space to myself. Hallelujah. Like the amount of excitement. Oh my God. I was just the happiest person in the world. And so I had some coffee, I did some voice memoing, right? But of course I was using my spaciousness to like catch up on things. So there was that. But then John got up and he pretty much went right upstairs to the loft area to do work. So I still had time. So what unfolded was I ended up having like 90 minutes alone in the morning. And it totally changed everything. And I was trying to explain this to like Daniela. I said, oh my God, I feel so rejuvenated. I have so much energy. I think every morning I just need an hour by myself and then I can like enter the day. And she's like, well, what do you mean? You're on vacation. You should just be able to just do all the things. And I was like, no, you don't understand. See, generators get energy by doing things they love. They have consistent access to energy. That's their sacral. So if you have to define sacral. So the more they do things they enjoy, the more energy they get. Projectors, my coach Lauren Armstrong jokes, she says her mom used to call her like a wilting flower. And it doesn't matter how much you're enjoying what you do. It's not bad, but just this is a great description. In a way, it's like you're just kind of on a downward slope the whole day. So it's like you are constantly running out of energy. Now, being with generators gives energy until you disconnect from them, and then you're like really even more tired. So I was trying to explain to someone with consistent access to energy, I was like, it's not about being alone that like I'm antisocial. It's about being in my own energy, like not having people in my field because I have open sacral. So I'm like exposed and like taking on their energy. And it was really, she didn't fully get it, which is fine. There's no way she would need to, right? Because I'm the projector here. But I was really just sharing that for my own processing and awareness. I was like, oh, boundaries, right? Boundaries. I had like this major flashback of my entire life and looking at when and how I get cranky and shut down. Pretty much like if I'm overexposed in terms of energy, what happens? And anyone who's close to me will tell you this. Like, I have a great time. I am happy. I am cheerful. I am like in it until I'm not. And then I'm like, boom, it's like a switch goes off and I'm like, I'm done. I'm done. I'm out. And this was even like in college, people would like party and want to drink late. I was always like, I would just get to the point and there was no quote rallying that could be done by me. I was like, I'm going home. I'm going to bed now. Like I'm done. And it's such an extreme that I think it often shocks people that I'm around. And then I can't even feign joy. I'm like, I get a little tired. I get a little cranky and annoyed, and I'm really no fun to be around. Now, I don't get to that point very often anymore because I've really learned my energy. But being thrown into this family trip, this is the thing, guys. It's like, I wanted to have the energy to do all the things. Like, I'm like shaking my hand. Don't you understand? I want to have sustained energy all day and just be able to jump from thing to thing to thing and be excited and happy and present the whole time. I don't know how to hack that yet, and I don't want to because I just get burned out. So what I realized that day was, okay, I need at least like an hour to myself. And it made all the difference. I was excited. I was happier, and I still got tired at the end of the day, but it definitely changed things to start my day with that time alone. And then I just started to see like all of the ways in which I wasn't caring for my energy. So what happened was I reflected that I wasn't caring for my energy. So what I was feeling was resistance. I was feeling annoyed. I was feeling tired and frustrated. But all of that was wrapped up in like this resistance to what is. I was like, everyone needs my energy. This isn't fair. I can't keep up. I can't give to everyone. And I need time alone. And it was like kind of complaining. That was the energy, is resistance and complaining. And it was that day, of course, because I had time and space to reflect on this, that I realized that. And I was like, oh, this is not helping anything, right? Because when you resist what is, right, what you resist persists. And I'm like, okay, so I'm fighting what is, and that doesn't feel good. I'm tired and that doesn't feel good. I don't have any alone time and that doesn't feel good. When I'm with my family, like I'm kind of cranky because I'm too worn down and that doesn't feel good. I'm like, okay, what do I do? And I mean, it was to surrender. It was to surrender, to stop fighting what I was experiencing. And it was in that awareness that things started to shift. I think that was on a Wednesday. And that Wednesday, I opted out of dinner. I said, hey, I'm not going to do dinner. And neither is John. And my parents went over to Ian and Daniela's. They had a great time. John and I picked up some simple food. And that was because I knew the next day we had a boat ride, an 8-hour boat ride. And I said, look, I want to feel good for tomorrow. I need to not have alcohol. I need to not be socially engaged. And I just need to have a little quiet time this evening. So I'm skipping dinner. They're like, cool. Communication, y'all. Always a good thing. And John laughed that evening. He was like, you are so happy because it's just the two of us. And I was like, yes, because John's kind of my anchor. He's definitely an anchor for me energetically and emotionally. And so it was like just the two of us. I watched a movie. He sat and worked next to me on the couch, and it was like being home again. And so it gave me all of this time to kind of like recoup my energy. I slept great. The next morning, woke up earlier and was like excited and ready. And we had the best day on the boat. And I brought my book. And so some of the time on the boat, everyone was doing things. I sat in the back and read by myself. And then I'd re-enter into the group. And then I'd go read by myself. Like, I became aware that it wasn't up to others to stop needing from me. Of course, they want to hang out with me. Like, it's my family. We love each other. It was up to me to choose how I'm giving my energy away. And that was the shift. In fact, Lauren, in a projector call, I'm in this projector playground mastermind group, and I was sharing this with them. And she said, well, what was your shift that made things easier? And I said, the shift was going from everyone is taking my energy and I can't control it, to it is my energy to give. And just that on its own is empowering, because I can choose to give and overgive my energy for a week with my family if I want, or I can choose to give it in spurts and contain it a little bit more so that I feel more sustained. And so that shift was when I let go of the resistance and had such a good day Thursday. And then Friday, we were traveling home, but we had like a fun morning. We did all these things and like everything shifted. So I had no space that week. I had no space during the week where the episode about spaciousness was released, and I just died from the irony. And it's also so beautiful because this is life. Now, I consciously choose to keep my life more spacious, right? Like, that is a choice I make. I could easily fill my life. At one time, it was very full all the time, but this is what I choose. But when I'm in an experience where I don't have as much space, then I now know I can shift that a little bit. I can make pockets of space, and I can be okay and not fight what is, which I think was the biggest lesson for me during that trip. And then another tendency of mine, do you guys do this? Like, I'm just in such awareness of my tendencies. And it's great. Like, I'm a coach, like self-reflection, going through it on your own is the most important thing so you can guide others through it. But my other thing is, if I feel too taxed in terms of people need from me, I kind of swing the pendulum in the other way. And then I'm like, that's it. Everyone is cut off. I am no longer here to provide energy to anybody. Everyone's out. And I just like close the doors and like shut down. It's extreme, okay? But I knew I had to do that in order to recover from this trip, because I also heard from Lauren Armstrong, she was saying that projectors, like if we don't take care of our energy when we're in the energy of generators, like we plug in to each other and then we get their energy when we're with them. And then when we we can try to keep up with them, but it's unsustainable for us and it's fake. It's a false sense of energy. And then she said, if we do that too much, we pay back with interest, which means we require a lot more rest to recover from not honoring our rest. And so I knew that was probably the case for this trip. So I told my clients and I told Instagram, I said, all right, I'm doing a 3-day digital detox. So I got home on Friday, no Instagram. Saturday, Sunday, Monday was 4th of July holiday, and totally pulled back into my own energy. But what happened was that wasn't enough. And I have not been on Instagram since returning from the trip. And I took all of last week. I mean, it really took me a full week to recover from the trip. And I did client calls, which was wonderful, but I didn't have much to do in terms of outward effort. And that was it. And now I had a beautiful day yesterday on Sunday, cleaned up the house, took a shower, did a face mask, prepped the food for the week, had a really nourishing day and slept so well. And I woke up today and I was like, oh, I have energy. And John's starting his new job and it feels like a really back to school energy. And I woke up, I made the bed, I got all ready, just feeling so good. And it's this reminder always of the cyclical energy. And even I know generators have this, we all, whether or not you even listen to human design, we all have this cyclical energy. And the biggest lesson that I am continually learning and remembering for myself is that when the energy is gone, it's okay. That means it's time to rest, to restore, to recover, to retreat, right? To reflect. And the energy always comes back. It always comes back. You always get an upswing after the downswing. The pendulum will continue to swing side to side to side to side. John told me a really interesting tidbit of information the other day, and I was like, what? Is that with a pendulum, the time it takes to get from point A to point B is always the same. Even if it comes to a near stop, because it slows down. When it's big, wide swings and extremes, it's going a lot faster. And then as it gets closer to the center, it moves slower and slower and slower until stillness. It's always going to come back. You're always going to get your energy back, just as you're always going to need a rest. And whether that happens in big waves, like I had months where I had no energy, or it happens in bursts, like a week where it's a little bit faster, or it happens hours over the day. It's cyclical. We are not meant to sustain a certain level of energy at all times. And it is okay to retreat, to call your energy back, to reclaim your energy, to even cut energetic cords from other people who are sucking your energy, whether intentionally or not. Our energetic hygiene is really a valuable skill to learn because in the long term, it keeps us from burnout, from adrenal fatigue, right? From being snippy and annoyed and cranky with the people you care about, right? It actually nurtures you to nurture your energy. And then you emerge back into the world with renewal, with a sense of self, with clarity, with more ease. So that is my story of going from spaciousness to no space, of learning about my energy even deeper when I was thrown to the wolves. I was in the trenches of energy and doing, and how to take what I do in the quiet behind the scenes and apply it to life. I mean, that's all we're doing. Living life with more ease, with more joy, with more grace, with or without the space. Oh, thank you all, as always, for tuning in. Would love to hear your reflections about this episode. If you've experienced something similar in your life, hit me up on Instagram. I am still checking my DMs. I don't know when I'll be back online. So Instagram at Dana_Evans. Definitely check out my YouTube channel is youtube.com/alignful, and check for episodes of the Vitamin D vlog. We have the Lake Tahoe episode coming out this month. And of course, you can always send me an email to dana@alignful.com. So until next week, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining me on another episode of the Tuning In podcast. As always, if this would resonate with anyone you know, please share the episode. You can follow along with my journey on Instagram at Dana_Evans, or find me on my website at alignful.com.